Hello and welcome to another Mobalytics video. I'm your host Virkayu, and in this one we are having a look at the 12 best solo carry junglers for Season 12. As astute individuals, you would have seen we have released the top and the mid videos already, so you can check those out if you are also playing those positions. But as you will know, solo carry junglers are not necessarily always the best in the meta, they just provide you the best tools to carry, win and climb when your teammates come up lacking. And I'm sure that's all the context you need, so let's begin with Virkayu. These are not necessarily in any particular order, but Virkayu is the most popular jungler in the game, so we had to start with him. And I will explain why each of these are particularly good at solo carrying rather than just why they might be strong or weak overall. And in Virkayu's case, you have this beautiful ability to not only have a multitude of rune sets and itemization choices with which you can use to adapt to the enemy team comp as well as your team comp, you also have the ability to snowball out of control with a few early kills. But should that not happen for you, mid and late game, all you're looking to do is bide your time, make sure you're within touching distance, and wait for that beautiful team fight where everyone overcommits and you just get 50 resets. That means you're basically strong no matter what. You can be ahead, behind, or neutral. Virkayu always has the potential to pop off, the Katarina effect in the jungle. This is absolutely crucial because if you are using good pathing, it's very easy with a decent team to get 20 kills. If you're in a very bad game where your laners are just absolutely inept, as long as you path correctly early, good 4-5 camp, good invade, good ganks, good crab control, suppress the enemy jungler. You have herald control, which is the most important objective that we want to secure in those negative game states, and all you're looking to do is pick a lane, get a little bit fed from them, and then use that as a bounce off point. So when that fight comes around, you are healing, you are resetting, you are ulting everybody. And you know, it's really easy when I'm looking for footage for my own channel to find Virkayu pentakills. This is why. And that's the thing, you can 3 camp, you can 5 camp, you can literally do whatever you want in terms of jungle theory and pathing to position yourself for those game-winning fights, those game-winning resets. But what people don't talk about is they'll just play Virkayu the same way no matter what. If you're playing Divine Sundra Trinity Force, you have a bit more HP in that. You know, are you dealing with squishies, with tanks, with CC? You can definitely frontline and do a bit more disruption that way. But if you're going Kraken Slayer builds, you are effectively an assassin. Your damage is absolutely disgusting. So look for that backline access with your E, make sure you're hitting W on crucial targets, finish them off, and now you've dismantled their entire team fight by killing the Jinx and Zeri first. Being a solo carry jungler means you don't really need to rely on your team too much, and that's why I didn't mention them in this section, nor will I in the rest of the sections. And for Shaco, the next on the list, I don't think you've ever really cared about your team because you're selfish, you have unique pathing, and on my gameplay channel I recently covered a Shaco that does red Raptors level 2 gank mid lane, transitions to top lane if that's available, otherwise does blue Grump and then top crab mid. Basically, from there you can go bot crab and bot lane as well. You're looking at a 4 camp clear, double crab control, and 3 lanes to gank. You don't need anyone to set things up for you. Because of your Q and your backstab and your box, you basically can be a ganking force all by yourself. Obviously a good ganking lane is nice, but the fact that you don't really need to worry about ganking angles because you're just unseen anyway is absolutely huge. You rely on yourself and your own brain for early pathing to get leads. A Shaco who does not execute a good early game plan with at least a couple kills, invades, cheeses, and things like this is not one that's going to solo carry. But if you master the ways of deception, you are going to have a lot of fun just outthinking the enemy team as well as the enemy jungler, forcing them to follow you around and try and guess where you're going to go. You're going to get yourself fed, and now because you are fed, you can push the map. You move into the enemy jungle. It's very easy to remove them from the game. You fall back to your heralds and your dragons. You bust open towers, and then you become an absolute map menace. Couple that with, of course, your Gale Force AD builds, your other AD builds with Duskblade and so on, your AP builds. There is a Shaco formula for every single one of you degenerates. Next up we have Echo, and the reason for Echo here is while you don't clear as fast as the rest of the meta, while you do not gank as well as the rest of the meta, you counter gank better than everyone else. That means you need to use your W 2.25 second stun in those exquisite counter ganks. Obviously, it's great for regular ganks, but counter ganks when teams have already used spells chasing down your laner, and because you're a savant at tracking, you now destroy them, you get 2 kills, you shove the wave. There is no better jungler at snowballing. Now, while you do not have the same Virkayu-ness later in the game, yeah, you can pop off and get fed eventually. There's more pressure for you to be active early, more pressure for you to be doing something early, just to stay within touching distance of the game. You do not want to be an Echo that does nothing and eventually scales to one-shot the Soraka and the ADC, but you haven't really been doing anything and the enemy jungler has been feasting on your team. The whole point is to solo carry with Echo, which you can do, but if you're only playing half the game, it's kind of difficult. Your rewind button on your ultimate basically means you can face check whatever situation you need so that your team doesn't have to. You can steal Barons and Dragons whenever the hell you want because of your E-Smite combo. You've also got the Protoball combo there as well, which means no champion is too far away for you for them to die. As we said last year, I like the stock. Following this, we have Rek'Sai. Now, Rek'Sai is technically on a timer, so people are saying, wait, how is Rek'Sai solo carry game if after 25 minutes you become a grasshopper? Well, that's the thing, isn't it? By getting fed on Rek'Sai, by having good early cadence and tempo control and not AFK farming and doing nothing, you're delaying that timer. Think of it this way. At 20 and 25 minutes, you will struggle basically if you do nothing. However, every kill you get, every objective you secure, every level lead you have over the enemy jungler delays that cap of the game becoming too difficult for you. Because now the enemy team has to catch up, and instead of being weak at 20, 25, you're now weak at 35 because of the lead you have. That, and it's a terrible misconception that Rek'Sai is really bad once people start to group and in teamfights. That's just nonsense. You're looking for E flanks on the backline. If you're building more fighter, more HP, you're looking to basically disrupt and engage on the target that's at the front of the enemy team's fight ball. And that's kind of difficult when most of you don't even W or combo correctly. Use your borrowed Q, the Praise Seeker, to get some Fury stacks, which means your E true damage can come through faster once you finish your combo. Remember, you can press W to knock them up from further away, so you're not only right-clicking to knock them up. As soon as you use the multitude of ganking angles available to you, be creative with it. As soon as you're using your lead to absolutely Prowler's Claw snowball on everybody, you have no issue invading and pushing them out, but you have to do that. You're not falling back to your jungle. You're using your full combos to make sure you always have a numbers advantage, such that teamfights aren't really an issue for you and never will be. Next up, we have Nidalee, who is probably the hardest jungler in the game to learn. The reason for this is mechanically in terms of your clears becoming efficient, in terms of knowing how the limitations work with your ranged melee component on invades and ganks, and simply satisfying win conditions like with Rek'Sai. This is all difficult when you put it together. And in fact, even Master Nidalees can look a bit question mark sometimes. But if you can get that first clear down to pristine levels and your auto-canceling is absolutely perfection, and you have a hyperactive, perfect knowledge of jungle flow and understanding how to invade and apply pressure, you are definitely not AFK farming in this meta. You have to get dirty, you have to get in the enemy jungle, you have to gank lanes and apply pressure always for all time. If you can do that and your mechanical ability equals your jungle knowledge, there's very few champions that give you as much skill expression in terms of controlling the game, winning lanes for yourself, and simply just being the jungle difference every game. But if that sounded way too intense for you, let's make things simpler. Bring Darkness over the Rift and use Nocturne to press ult on whoever pushes past vision lines. Remember what I said about Rek'Sai making sure that teamfights will always win because you always had numbers advantage? Nocturne is the king of this. While you can farm and basically do your thing to get to 6, your pre-6 ganks don't hurt that badly. You have a really good 1v1 setup with your Lethal Temper as well as Conqueror. And every time an ADC in your elo decides to push past vision line, they die. Obviously understand and track for traps, but this macro ability gives you map control when laners are simply not doing their job. Even if your lane gets caught out and you're just farming away, and they shouldn't be dying to something we saw, you can get there quickly with your ultimate. You can split push, move mid, and join your team with an ultimate. You are always in range to affect something on the map, and that's most important in your low and mid elo games, but you can also farm and fight with a lot of ease. Evelynn is kind of the same thing except without the ultimate component, but you become a huge question mark with your camouflage. And while she is not doing particularly well in the meta, she is not one of those strong champions that's going to be put on the tier list. In terms of solo carry potential, she really hits the peak. Because as long as you're avoiding the meta jungler from invades, as long as you're avoiding bad matchups, as long as you're still farming and maintaining experience advantage, maybe a few ganks here and there early, once you hit 6 and you start to apply that question mark pressure, it becomes really a game of you versus the enemy team. You versus control wards, and it's quite easy. Press tab frequently. Look for control wards and the enemy team's infantry. Track them on the minimap. As soon as they disappear and show again, press tab again. Control ward has disappeared, well, they've placed it. Therefore, path around it. Path a different direction. Use a lane gank. But much like a sort of Twitch jungle kind of thing, stop farming too much once you've gotten those item spikes. Move into the river as soon as you've taken a few tiles with a herald ideally, and just assassinate people. Go probing to continually make the game one-sided in your favor. The pressure you can apply through cheese strategies, through bush camping strategies, to just walking through the enemy jungle when you guys have that lead and anyone who walks through dies. That's all you're looking to do. And of course, when a huge teamfight breaks out, patience, enter the back line and say goodnight with your ultimate. Rengar is probably the second hardest champion in the game to learn alongside Nidalee, although some people invert those two. They really are tough mechanically. They really are tough in terms of making them work with the item spikes and game knowledge. But Rengar kind of combines that Evelynn feeling with the Viego feeling. Once you start to snowball and get the bone tooth stacked up, very few champions can match you. If you have great bush control and understanding of empowered abilities, you can have no issue going full on crit or full on fighter. One provides absolute execution of enemy squishies, the other provides a bit more of an engaged Rengar who can survive longer in fights while still healing and doing the most damage in the game. Both are viable. Yes, you need aggressive early pathing. Yes, you need good tracking. Yes, you need to respond to enemy junglers' mistakes by moving into the jungle and killing them. But very few junglers apply such a scary map control factor once they get 1, 2, 3 kills early. And obviously with the lane ganks from your 6, with the lane ganks from your bush control, you're always living in the heads of the enemy team. And that's the thing about Rengar. It's a mental thing for solo carrying just as much as it is from an item and rune standpoint. They cannot face check brushes, and they will do that. They 100% will be face checking brushes. If they do that and run away to another one, they know they're screwed. How do you play against something like that? Even with vision control, it doesn't really matter. And the Empower W is one of the most broken abilities in the game in terms of just cleansing whatever might trap you. Most assassins just have to go in. Rengar can go in and out. Insane damage, cleansing ability, hard CC. You do not really need a good team around you just need to be good yourself. Obviously things can be difficult, but once you get fed, as with all these champions, once you get fed, the ball of wool is in your box. Next up is Kayn, because Kayn has two forms. One destroys tanks and fighters because Ras, and the other destroys everyone because Shadow Assassin. And you can go, of course, the Rasty Boy build on the Shadow Assassin. You can do purple, you can do blue stuff, First Strike, Conqueror, Gorge Drinker, Prowler's Claw. You can adapt to every single situation, but it's his mobility that becomes such an issue, and the vision granted on the E. Absolutely disgusting, because as soon as you go to war, look at the sphere of influence you have now to probe and look for kills. You can see movement without even committing yourself to a situation. It's Echo, but it's on a basic ability. And you don't have to use your ultimate to yeet out if things look doomed, you just E away some more. Unnatural damage, unnatural slipperiness, unnatural mobility, huge vision control, an ult that gets you out of dodge when you overcommit because apparently we need that as well. Not too difficult to play. You're looking at a champion that simply does his own thing, farms fast, skirmishes well. What doesn't he have besides the ability to go full AP? And on that note, if you want an AP carry jungler, then you're looking at Diana, and we all know this. Yeah, it's a little bit boring for a lot of you, and yes, I know a lot of you hate her because she farms the fastest in the game in terms of just clearing. Oh look, she's one-shotting me. She has gap closer, she has CC, she can split push, she can tank all your damage, and if she hits her Q, then she can gap close twice. She is an incredibly difficult champion to fight 1v1 when she gets ahead, even when she isn't ahead. You know that once she has Proto Belt, she is going to start to one-shot and fight people. You know if you try to get into a farming battle with her while trying to gank, you're not going to be able to do so. She will outmatch you and outtempo you in all regards. Can we deal with her? Yes, because a lot of Dianas actually don't look to get on the map. If you're a Diana and you're just AFK farming, you're not really doing the whole solo carry potential thing. Just execute your game plan. You can full clear and gank. You get crabs, you can full clear again, you can gank again. You can now take a herald, you can split push top lane, steal their camps, fall back to your camps and clear again. Oh, what's that? Your team is trash? Well, let me just go and push this and take some more plates for myself. Oh look, my team is caught out again. Let me just split push because you're gonna have to send 2 people to deal with me because I will one-shot whoever else you send. Simply put, Diana does not care about the game state. She just does what she wants and she does it with ease. And of course she's AP, which is great. We all know how the Yasuos and Yones need to be in the mid lane. Next up we have Hecarim, and this champion is nothing short of broken. Imagine Diana, except with the ability to, rotate to literally every single fire that is on the map. Imagine a tank that can do damage without building damage because he can dive the backline with a chem tank build. The enemy team cannot kill you, you're still farming very, very fast, and they have to commit their whole team to dealing with you, which means your backline just gets to do whatever they want. What's that? You actually want to be a bit of a squish machine and just destroy everyone who's an enchanter? Hey, Trinity Force, go forth, do it, run them over. Your DPS is insane, the Death's Dance survivability is insane, you can build tank, you can build full squish assassin mode, you can build hybrid with Divine Sunderer, you can literally build whatever you want, you will become unkillable and do damage no matter how you play it. You have Predator, you have Conqueror, you have Phase Rush. The champion almost has no weaknesses, and the threat of always rotating with your game-changing ultimate, the threat of always just rotating down a river with your fully charged E and a chem tank, it puts it all on you. All the carry potential is riding on your back. If you are having trouble carrying and winning with Hecarim, that's because it's on you. You are not rotating enough, you are farming way too much and ignoring the map, but even then, it doesn't really matter. You will eventually outscale. You just have to decide, now is the time that I'm going to rotate and kill everybody. Now is the time that I'm going to use my ultimate just to break open the game. Lock in Hecarim and do whatever you want, you'll get wins. And finally, we have Kha'Zix, and yes, Kha'Zix has weaknesses, and yes, Kha'Zix is not as strong as Diana and Hecarim in the meta, but in terms of solo carry damage, there is very few champions that once they get even a small smidgen of a lead, that they can do this to enemy champions. Look at the footage you're seeing, just absolute disgusting one-shots, isolation damage. It is unnatural. 90% slow on Evolve W, that is a huge width and impossible to miss. Wave clear, free picks, slipperiness with your ultimate, resets with your E if you're against a squishy comp where you can yeet in and yeet out. People might think Kayn is slippery, but those of us who played before Kayn was even a thought, we remember the original slippery assassin being Kha'Zix. And the benefit to playing Kha'Zix here is, yes, while you can get in and out and navigate team fights with ease, and your damage is really unmatched, the benefit of being Kha'Zix in this particular season is you're not likely to be nerfed because you are not basically directing the meta. Diana and Hecarim are way more likely to be nerfed when jungle changes come about, because they're easier, because they're more obvious, because they really don't have a lot of weaknesses. And Kha'Zix does require you to execute, but the champion's win rate is always good. The champion is always supported as one of the best in the game, and he's always a de facto go-to assassin for most people who want to do that playstyle. And that's because whether you're doing a 3-camp Tano EU West ganking Kha'Zix, whether you're doing a 5-camper kind of chill Kha'Zix, you simply carry through damage, through slipperiness, and through execution. If your combos are fluid and your decisions are good, very few junglers will be able to deal with you in terms of a 1v1 matchup. And much like Rek'Sai, much like other assassins, you are always looking to make sure teamfights are in your favor by there not being any teamfights, because you're moving into the jungle, you're killing one, you're killing two, you fall back to the objective, and you carry on about your bug life. But with this particular kit, in terms of the evolve paths, rune paths, atomization paths, you can always adapt to the meta. And if you're struggling to do damage and carry with Kha'Zix in that arena, which is of course what he brings to the table by killing Soraka's perpetually, then you simply need to work on your entry points, you need to work on your combos, because if your combos are good and you know when to go in, there should be no reason why your damage doesn't carry every game. Well, there you have it, junglers that have total control over the map and the game based upon your decisions. The buck stops with you with these junglers. As long as you execute, you will be able to do what's necessary on each jungler in order to carry. So if you're not winning in solo carrying with these junglers, you know you need to improve your execution. But of course, you can do that. This is an educational channel, so look at Mobalytics for all the tips you need. Thank you very much for watching. I've been your host Virkayu, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.